How's it going, everyone? Livid here with something a little different today. I wanted to take just a little bit of time and show 13 awesome things buried within screenshots, concept art, and gameplay footage we've seen of Hytale over the past few months. These details were super easy to miss if you weren't going over the reveals with a fine-tooth comb, honestly, and some actually reveal some pretty significant things for the game. Before all of that, however, check out this new screenshot that was shared yesterday on Hytale's official Twitter page. We finally get an in-game look at what the fairins will look like, and frankly, they look amazing. The details and potential variation on those skulls that they wear are super cool. Even the markings seem to have variations as well. Also, if you haven't done so already, take a moment to subscribe and hit that bell notification to keep up to date on all videos I release, especially when we finally get into playing Hytale down the road. Alright, let's jump right into it. First up, we have a rather old screenshot showing a player venturing into a cave system with a bit of ruins and what looks like a rather raggedy looking creature down below. While that creature is intriguing, the really neat detail to pick out from this screenshot is that it looks like defensive based blocks may indeed be a thing. If you look at the top section nearest to the character, you'll see both a wooden spike trap as well as several sharpened wooden poles, leading me to believe that creating realistic looking wooden palisades for your base to protect against climbing enemies may be a thing. We also see smaller versions of these in post form in some of the Outlander camp images. Pretty neat stuff. Next up, for all the builders and detail-oriented creatives out there, a small and easily overlooked feature is showcased here. Not only can mossy features be seen growing on solid blocks, but it looks like this will apply to half slabs and even upside down stair blocks. This gives even more ways to really blend sections of your builds together seamlessly. What other block could this possibly apply to? I guess we'll have to wait and find out. In this build here by the Hytale team, you may notice one interesting feature that we aren't entirely sure about yet, and that's gates. We see here what looks to be quite an intricate set of semi-transparent blocks forming the bottom of a raised gate. Now, will this be interactable? Will it be placed through individual pieces or a feature generated from some sort of gate system? I don't know, but I would definitely keep an eye out in future footage to potentially clear this up. Now, while we're on a building and block details kick, let's check this one out. The floor below the skeleton as it attacks the player isn't a standard half slab solid type block. This one has much more detail and showcases even supporting cross beams holding up a rather thin wooden platform. I'm really hoping that we get more blocks that have details like this because it helps really break up the really even lines and cross-section pieces that we tend to see with really blocky style games. So hopefully we see even more blocks with details like this in the future for our builds. Next up, we have what the Hytale team has shown us to be mineshaft entrances. Now when it comes to games like Minecraft, we were just used to things like minecart rails and ladders as a means to travel up and down areas like this. Now with Hytale, the team looks to have added ropes and actual chain blocks. How many times were you building a castle and wanted to make a drawbridge look like it had actual chains supporting it, but it was limited to things like iron fences? Or how many times did you want to scale a surface up a wall and you didn't want to just use ladders, you really wanted to have things like ropes and stuff like that that are more dynamic? Well, with Hytale, it looks like you might be able to make that a reality. Now in this image of a structure within Zone 2, we see some very obvious things at first, like skull torches and texture variations like every other zone in Hytale. But if you look closely towards the middle and top sections of the structure, you will see thin cloth and leather blocks. These thin blocks can be used to add detail awnings, overhangs, and even classic Arabian-style trading posts in builds that we were limited to by solid, thick wool blocks in Minecraft. We even have another glimpse of this in an earlier image of the social hub, decorating all the different shops in the social center. Just another great example of small details that can actually make a huge difference visually to the game. Now, while we're on this image, we also get a look at a concept art piece of a backpack helicopter actually implemented in-game. Between mounts, hot air balloons, jetpacks, turtle shells, and now this, how many methods of transportation and traversal do you think the developers have really put into Hytale? I mean, we're ranging anywhere from just riding on basic animals and foot travel to all the way up to mechanical contraptions, so the sky is kind of the limit on what they can do here. It's honestly pretty cool. Now this one has quite a bit to unpack. I pointed out in a much earlier video of mine, but I still noticed people on forums, discords, and even Reddit completely missing this. This screenshot isn't just a beautiful lake with a nice house built on it, and it isn't just inside a random cave. What I actually believe to be the case here is this was our first actual look at the underground world of Zone 4. Now, why do I think that? Well, the foliage and color palette matches that of the concept art we've seen for the dinosaurs, which we know to be the inhabitants of the caves of Zone 4. On top of that, we also know the Slothians live in these caves, and right there fishing and standing on the dock are Slothians. So there you have it. The subterranean world of Zone 4 has been shown to us. Now, in line with some of the new reveals pertaining to the Outlanders recently, there were some really cool details here as well. First off, the Outlander Rangers are said to be masterful scouts of this faction. Here we see them not only watching and hunting a group of bison, but we see some behaviors in action here that make me just wonder how complex the AI will get. We see one of the Rangers actually crouching behind cover here. Will they do this when they are tracking you in the wild? If you engage them at range, will they use blocks as cover to fight back? Potentially a really important information here that we will only know for certain when we play it. Also, within this very same blog post, we got a good look at the ritual site of the Outlanders. While this was all really cool to see, we saw two really important details here. Fire seems to actually have quite realistic smoke particles that help to blur the line between a standard block game and realistic features. We also catch in the background our first ever look at the ladder climbing animation. So that is confirmed that we won't simply be levitating up a vertical surface. Does this apply to the player as well? Will this make us not have our weapons ready until we finish climbing? Two potentially huge questions that I can't wait to see answered. Last up for that blog post is actually this image here. Now we know for Hytale's forest, the leaf blocks are rather dense and randomly rotated to really give trees a visually dense, complex appearance with all their leaves. We know now that this will even carry over to dead or decayed trees using in-place bundles of branches, giving these forests of Zone 3 and Zone 4 a really creepy evil vibe. I'm wondering where else in the environment they might use this effect to really scatter detail throughout it and make it look way more complex and dense than what it normally would be with just blocks. Overall though, I'm totally digging the look of this. The final topic I wanted to make sure to highlight is actually related to crafting. I did a larger breakdown video of every single revealed image of Hytale's current UI design from a few months ago, and hidden within these screenshots are several extremely important clues about the equipment and crafting systems found in Hytale, and I just didn't want them to go unnoticed. The first major point being that in addition to basic things such as equipment slots for helmets, gloves, chest pieces, and legs, there are also 4 additional slots that look to be jewelry slots, for things like rings. This could imply a large number of things, from subtle stat buffing items to the possibility of unique ability affecting perks. Now, we aren't entirely sure what they're for yet, but it is definitely something to keep an eye out for. Now, the last and final major takeaway from the crafting menus is that the subtext on the workbench states that knowledge of new weapon categories and weapons themselves can be found scattered throughout the world. This directly implies that our adventures throughout Orbis, we will encounter recipes and knowledge of what looks to be dozens, maybe even hundreds, of unique craftable items in game. I mean, there are 12 different swords right there with a scroll bar that implies possibly another 9 on top of that, and that is just the sword category alone. And that's it for this Hytale analysis, everyone. First time ever doing one of these because I like to keep my videos packed full of info in a digestible format and avoid repetitive content on this channel. But some of these details I think were incredibly overlooked and not many people are talking about them. I want to thank you all for stopping by and spending your valuable time watching my content. Remember to toss a like or a sub if you enjoyed it so I can keep growing the channel to reach more and more people. Take care everyone, and I hope to see you all back here for Hytale's next big update.